Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Lincoln Riley, the USC Trojans, making some noise late night in the transfer portal. Been a busy day with signing day. The fellas not going to miss an opportunity to talk some USC football, some roster building. And Dill, you look at this USC program, and obviously not the signing day a lot of USC fans were hoping for. Obviously, there was some buzz around DJ Lagway. He sticks with Florida. Ryan Pelham ends up flipping his commitment to the Oregon Ducks. What I'm most excited for, and what I was thinking about as I was watching this unfold, is I'm really excited to see what this USC program is about with a little bit of adversity. You go back 6 months ago, including myself here, we're all over USC as being an offense that was going to be unstoppable, a defense that was completely retooled. The narrative around USC heading into 2024 is, what has this team got? And a lot of doubters now. And I'm excited to see what this USC program has when kind of the back's up against the wall. Now, you had two really interesting transfer portal additions we're going to dive into. Before we get into, just want to say thank you to you guys. A shout out, as always, to the USC fans. You guys continue to support the boys in such a meaningful way. This is a program we love talking about. All the fight-ons in the comment section. We love it. We appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dylan, I'm going to kick this one off to you. USC adding 2 Mississippi State Bulldogs. How are we feeling?
I mean, I think you're right with the attitude around this program. It is like you got to circle the wagons a little bit. It's kind of hit that 180 where now essentially the guys who are going to be on this team, they need to want to be on this team. They need to be bought in because there isn't that like outside draw to it. I mean, last year when guys were coming in, you had the hype, you had the LA. It felt like there was something different. You had the Caleb Williams of the world kind of like there to guide you, if you will. Now everybody else better step it up because there is no bailout guy in Caleb Williams. So I think you think back to what Nick Saban said when they lost Bryce Young and Will Anderson. He kind of remarked, he's like, look, everybody else can kind of take it easy when you got those two horses because they're there. Everybody knows they're going to go compete and perform. Everybody else maybe takes it off a little bit. Now this USC team, everybody's got to be wildly accountable, and it will be interesting. This is a big-time prove-it year, I think, for Lincoln Riley and maybe proving the doubters wrong because there's a lot of doubters.
A lot of doubters, a lot of haters on Twitter, and it kind of reminds me, and we'll get into Jaquavius Woody Marks, a guy that I love. It reminds me of Michigan coming out of the COVID year, when it was like, okay, Jim Harbaugh's on the hot seat. This program is going in the wrong direction. Fans were really, really upset. What do they do in 2021? They go and win the Big Ten, go to the college football playoffs. Really excited to see how this USC program responds. Now, we got a few transfer portal guys we want to get into. And I want to start with Jaquavius Woody Marks. We're going to call him Woody. This is a guy that has gotten it done at a high level in the SEC, kind of similar to Marshawn Lloyd coming over from South Carolina, behind kind of a bad offense, coming to USC, a little bit more room to operate. And what I love about Woody Marks, not only over 1,800 yards, 22 touchdowns rushing the football, Dill, where he makes his money, jaw-dropping stats out of the backfield. 214 catches, over 1,200 receiving yards during his time at Mississippi State. Not only are you getting a guy that's averaging over 3 yards after contact for Mississippi State running the football, you're getting a dynamic playmaker coming out of the backfield, and just add him to the list of offensive playmakers that are going to be around the new quarterback and then this Lincoln Riley offense.
And I get you want to talk about like the talent and all that, and it's there, and it was important to add a veteran presence in that running back room because you have some young guys who you can kind of believe in. Joyner, I think, has got a lot of talent. I know you're really excited about. But Jaquavius Marks, he's got that like that grit in you. I think like kind of what we're talking about. You need some guys who can be bought in and tough and grind it out in a season that was going horrible for Mississippi State. I mean, this guy was playing on one leg for a good chunk of the end of it and grinding it out. I mean, he played that whole Arkansas game. He couldn't really walk on the sideline, but was gutting it out. I think you need some of that in this USC team. I think you look at some of the guys who came over in the portal in the first couple of years, it was a lot of big time flash guys who'd had a lot of success, been around, like kind of high. They were kind of having their tires pumped constantly. Like this is the type of attitude I think they just need more of this in USC. They need more toughness. They need more guys who are bought in for the cause and are willing to like get grinded out a little bit.
Two things I love about Woody Marks. One, and you hit the nail on the head, in an offense nothing was going right in that Mississippi State offense. The lone bright spot was Woody Marks. Secondly, you're right. He had every reason to shut it down. That Mississippi State team stunk, right? And he was a guy that had every reason to shut it down. I'm going to hit the transfer portal. No, he battled it out. Again, we watched him against Arkansas. Dude could barely walk on the sideline, grits it out. I love that addition from a culture standpoint. And you mentioned potentially training for a guy like Will Howard. I think USC needs more of those kind of players in this roster. And then from a roster building standpoint, you have a ton of young talent at the running back room. Quentin Joyner is going to be a stud. But you want a veteran presence, a guy that has had over 1,800 rushing yards in the SEC going into his 5th year of college football. That's what Woody Marks represents, a difference maker, a culture improver in that locker room. I'm fired up for Woody Marks. Still not the only guy committing to USC in the transfer portal tonight. You also got his teammate, DeCarlos Nicholson, who we had to bust through the Egg Bowl and the LSU game to get a little feel for him. And this is a really interesting story to DeCarlos Nicholson. The first thing I'll start with, length and long speed. The two things that you want at the cornerback position. DeCarlos Nicholson has both of those, right? Extremely long arms, a big body that has a ton of speed. Formerly a quarterback at the JUCO ranks, makes the transition to cornerback. And Dill, this is a guy that Danton Lynn and his tutelage and his development, and Doug Belk obviously as well, like you're really excited about the traits, not necessarily the football player right now, but the football player DeCarlos Nicholson can be with this USC program.
And that's what I'm thinking. I mean, because you see the athleticism there. I think at times you looked and maybe played a little stiff, maybe like want to see better technique, I'd say, at the cornerback spot and how he gets in and out of breaks and cuts and stays on his feet a little better. And I think you hit it on the head. It's Danton Lynn. What Danton Lynn did for that UCLA pass defense, out of this world. I mean, guys, big, long cornerbacks at UCLA too, and he turned them into guys who look like they could play in man coverage, and would get their hands on footballs, weren't committing as many penalties, all those things you want to see. And you need such development in this USC cornerback room, not just for him, but everybody. I think there just wasn't enough of that in the past couple of years. I think Danton Lynn, that's going to be the big job for him, is come in and get these cornerbacks and secondary players playing at the level they're capable of playing, because there's a lot of talent in that room. They just need to play really good football. And given what he did at UCLA, I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to do it.
That's where Dan Lynn's.
Additionally, don't let the 6'3", like that, like wiry frame fool you for DeCarlos Nicholson. Tough tackler. Another thing you want to see. Didn't tackle well for USC in the secondary. This he's a very willing participant. He hits guys hard. He makes tackles. He doesn't miss a ton of them, which is huge. I mean, just like these are like, they need more of this. They need more guys who just play fundamentally well and are tough.
Dill, massive fan of known DeCarlos Nicholson fan right here.
Go watch the LSU tape. A team that was toasting guys up. I mean, he really didn't give up anything big. And you talk like, what's one thing you want to see more of from USC? You don't want to see big plays. This guy really didn't give up anything. Probably the best passing attack we've seen.
Hard to get behind someone who runs like that in a 6'3". And again, we can have this conversation about Dante Williams. Georgia hires him, and yes, Dante Williams, an elite recruiter. No one is going to argue that. This guy builds relationships and connects with these high school recruits just about as good as anyone in the country. We didn't see the development, right? And so obviously Dante Williams taking the job at Georgia maybe stings a little bit, but I think a lot of USC fans are looking at that defensive back room the last couple of years and saying it could get better. And
it wasn't good enough in that secondary. You didn't see the development play like at the pro level.
Yeah, the development wasn't there, right? A guy like Damani Jackson, a guy like Christian Roland Wallace, who was an all Pac-12 guy coming over from Arizona, did not play like an all Pac-12 guy for the USC Trojans. Doug Belk, Danton Lynn, you're kind of confident that they're going to get it right in the secondary. Really big fan of these additions. Now, obviously, USC bringing in a smaller class in 2024 allows them to get aggressive in the transfer portal. We've obviously seen some names, Malachi Nelson, Tackett Curtis, Damani Jackson, enter in. We're going to get aggressive. We're going to have to break down a lot more gets for USC, but you're seeing a difference in kind of guy they're going after. We talked about it in the recruiting with many of the USC fans who've been listening to my breakdowns at the high school level. it's a different kind of player they're going after. Like some of the guys that are getting overlooked, some of the guys that think there's a little bit more evaluation into the kind of player, not just what you see on the field, but the type of human.
It's got to be guys who want to be there. They're like the fair weather players who came for the
flash,
the USC flash, if you will. They're not there. If they were going to stay, they're certainly not there. Or if they were going to go there for that, they're certainly not there anymore because that sheen's worn off. And not, again, what we kind of talked about, you got to turn into kind of an old school gritty football team again.
We're going to the big time. We're circle the wagons. I'm very excited. The boys are fired up about this one. Again, not necessarily the signing day USC fans have hoped for, but you got two guys nice in the transfer portal. We'll continue to break down the roster, but we're waiting on Will Howard. But excited about the additions. Again, appreciate the USC fans rocking with the boys like you guys always do. Can't thank y'all enough, and we'll talk to you guys later.